Welcome back to our SVR WARS Breakdown series. I'm Michael Manis, and today we're going to take a look at the practical and digital effects that went into the making of our Star Wars themed project. Before we jump in, this is episode 2 of a 3-part series where we break down SVR WARS, my Star Wars themed commercial. Episode 1, we broke down the cinematography and camera gear, and episode 3, we're going to break down all the props and a little bit of the choreography. So if you want to stick around for that, make sure you subscribe. But for now, let's watch the visual effects breakdown. So let's jump into the VFX of the lightsabers themselves. I'm sure if you're into filmmaking and you watch tutorials, you know exactly what I'm about to say. I used Video Copilot's Saber plugin in After Effects to create both of these lightsabers. I didn't really do a whole lot of modification to Obi-Wan's lightsaber. As you can see, it's pretty even. It's very like soft glow. With Darth Vader's, I took a little bit more time to customize it. You can see it's a lot more turbulent, just to kind of like keep that evil vibe going. And you can even see it's a little bit more smoky as it comes out close to his face. And I really, really like the way that Video Copilot has that customization integrated into their sabers. The fantastic saber effects combined with the practical lighting really, really sells these lightsabers, and I would say to anybody who's gonna do more lightsaber VFX to definitely consider adding some practical lights to your scene, because even though it's not necessarily canon to the Star Wars universe, it elevates it and makes it feel a lot more real. I really, really enjoy the look. So another thing I really, really enjoyed about the Video Copilot Saber plugin was the way that the lightsabers interacted when they hit each other. Originally, I was gonna add sparks every time that the two sabers made contact, but the way that it blooms and the colors combine and create this purple just for a split second on the frame, here's what the shot looks like without any VFX whatsoever. So this is the raw shot with no coloring or anything, and then this is what it looks like. Boom, it looks like there's a giant explosion happening right in front of Darth Vader. So if you remember the BTS of the lightsabers, you remember that the blades are made of PVC. So for scenes like this where the lightsaber is ejecting out from the hilt, we can't really have that PVC in there because there has to be nothing there when it ejects. And if you watch other Star Wars / lightsaber themed videos, you'll definitely notice this trend a lot, where they keep the ejection part of the lightsaber very, very short, or they just don't show it at all. They just add some sound effects, and that sells it. Same thing with this shot of Obi-Wan. This is the lightsaber not ejecting, but it's going in. So this shot, again, is also very, very quick, so I don't have to do a lot of tracking to make it feel real. But I also added, as the lightsaber goes in, you can see it gets a little bit more distorted and warbly, and I just thought that was a little bit of an interesting look to when the lightsaber's going in. I know that's, again, not canon, but I really like the look of that, and I thought it looked pretty damn badass, and it turned out really, really well. So of course you can't have Star Wars without the Force. So there was a quick scene where we had a sand person eating a muffin, and in the middle of the fight scene, Darth Vader force throws the muffin and hits the bartender in the head. This was a super, super simple effect. For this one, we've got the sand person here eating the muffin, and all we really did was using a fishing wire, we just yanked it out of the sand person's hand. So here in this raw, unedited shot, you can easily see the wire. And then if you compare that directly with the other shot, boom, it's gone. So that was just like a really, really quick paint job, just a couple of frames, because the force throw only lasts a couple of frames. So we had 2 different force throw shots, both of them hitting this bartender guy in the head. And for this shot, this isn't actually a muffin. There's no actual muffin being thrown. This is just a digital image that I found online. I did some color correction to make it match the scene, and it just, boop, knocks this guy in the noggin. Another really simple VFX trick I pulled on this shot was cutting out the frame right as the muffin hits his head, because in reality, he's sort of moving out of the way of nothing, where we want to make it look like he's being hit in the head with something that's moving very, very fast. And typically when you get hit in the head or hit anywhere with something, it's very jarring. So cutting that frame where he's accelerating makes it feel like the hit is a lot harder than it actually is. Shout out to Film Riot, obviously, for this sick tip. So another really simple practical effect that we did on this film was the forced levitation choke thing that we did. Basically, we had Darth Vader lift Luke by the neck with the Force and then throw him back into a pile of garbage. So the first shot we got is Darth Vader lifting his hand, and then we got Luke reacting by choking. So that tells the audience immediately that, you know, the Force is being used. We're all familiar with the Force, and that, you know, he's lifting off the ground. We had him basically, for the first part of the shot, we just had him start to stand up on his tippy toes and lift up, and then we immediately cut to this shot where his feet are coming off the ground. Here's a behind the scenes of the shot. It took a little bit to set up to make sure that it was all safe, like I said. Here we got 2 Cardellini clamps clamping onto, I think this is actually one of the Dana Dolly pipes that we just kind of repurposed for this. I believe normally in this case, you wouldn't really want to use Cardellini clamps. You'd want to just use pipe clamps. But in this case, Cardellini's were what we had, and Cardellini's are incredibly good clamps anyway. But for extra safety measure, we had our key grip and our grip here. And we even had the gaffer here putting a foot on the stand, and everyone's basically applying their weight so that when our actor here does a little pull up on the bar, it's absolutely certain that it's going nowhere. And that was the first shot to imply that the force is being acted on Luke. The second one was even simpler, not even remotely as complicated as this one. So this shot, we've got Luke rising into frame, being lifted up by the force by Darth Vader. At least that's how it appears. But in reality, all we did was we just threw the camera a bit lower, we had him crouch, and then he just kind of stood into frame. So here's the camera at a low perspective, and that way when he crouches, he disappears right out of frame. And we can get away with that because we're on a decently tight lens. Pretty sure we were on the 85. And then after he lifts into frame, we just have him back out of shot really, really quickly. And then I added a little bit of speed ramp to that in post to make it feel a little bit more jarring. And then the final shot is him just falling back into some garbage. And although very low budget feeling and very simple once you combine all those shots in a sequence, to the viewer, it feels like Luke is being lifted up in the air and force thrown across the room. And I think it turned out really, really well, considering the alternative was like a $10,000 stunt crew and rigging. This worked out incredibly on $0. Hopefully you enjoyed that breakdown. If you want to check out episode 1 where we break down the camera gear, the lighting, check out the cinematography of SVR Wars. That was the last episode. And if you want to see how we built those lightsabers as well as some of the props and choreographed the fight, make sure you subscribe because that's what's coming out next week. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below or hit me up at Filmmiker. But for now, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. I better fucking see you in the next video. I'm gonna fuck you up. All right, bye. Ow, my hand hurts from that. Ow. You're not supposed to punch your own hands. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that when they give you these things.